Racing to the Breeders' Cup, let's recap a big weekend of stakes racing at beautiful Belmont Park and Keeneland. Starting off with Friday afternoon, it was the Grade 1 Alcibiades Stakes, and that one featured Perfect Alibi as the favorite, and Alandra took a lot of late money. Meanwhile, it was British Idiom, who on the turn made a bold move to the lead, opened up by 3 lengths, and prevailed by a solid 2.5 to 3 lengths, and now moves on to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies. British Idiom from the sire Flashback, who's a son of Tappet. Flashback was trained by Bob Baffert and had some interesting races early in his career, but then ended up kind of becoming another one of those Tappet head cases and never really developed later in his career. But meanwhile, British Idiom, she makes it back-to-back wins, a nice straight from a maiden race into a stakes race and picked up the big victory. Speed Figure came back solid. Nothing, outlandish. It was mid-80s. So a solid race from British Idiom. Perfect Alibi kind of got a little bit further behind, I think, than she thought she was going to be in this race. So I thought she kind of ran solidly for second. And I think those two look like the only two that are going to move on to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies. Meanwhile, on Saturday at Keeneland, it was kind of an interesting race. American Butterfly went to the lead and kind of set some fast fractions and really opened up early, was kind of sent out of the gate, got a flyer. That kind of spread out the field, and so a few horses got maybe 10, 12 lengths behind, and I don't think they were expecting that early. Meanwhile, Governor Morris was on a 3-wide trip on the backstretch, and he was another one who, favored at 3 to 2, kind of started to make a little bit of a move. Meanwhile, from the mid-pack, 7-8 lengths back, Maxfield making his second lifetime start. He had picked up a neck victory at Churchill Downs in his last race. He was bet down off a 12 to 1 morning line to 7 to 1, and he powered away, made a sweeping move into the turn as the race flow really favored the outside closers much of the weekend for Keeneland. You saw Blue Prize make that 3-wide move. You saw Maxfield go 3 wide. You saw actually British Idiom make a move going into the turn while being a little bit wide. So Maxfield, the son of Street Sense out of a Bernardini mare, he picked up the win, and they are going to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. An impressive victory, and I think he'll be one of the 3-4 favorites. Very similar move kind of to Street Sense a few years back at Keeneland. Powerful move into the turn and just drew away from that field. Governor Morris, maybe a small chance he goes, but I think going from a 5.5 furlong race to a 1.16 and now having to ship out west, I'm not sure that would be the wisest move for Governor Morris. Meanwhile, at beautiful Belmont Park on Saturday, it was a speed duel. Gozilla, along with the impressive winner, Green Light Go, they kind of went at it tooth and nail early on, really pressed each other for 6 furlongs, and it was just too much. You could see on the turn neither one was going to make it. Tiz the Law sat the perfect trip in third, picked up off the speed duel, went to the lead, and powered away to the victory. They look like they are going to pass on the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. They're thinking Kentucky Derby. They're thinking Roses. So as of right now, it looks like Tiz the Law is not going to go to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It was a good win. Speed Figure, again, a little bit on the lower side, as I think he was more of a beneficiary of a hot pace duel. Good-looking horse. I think I would go to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I'm not as strong of a believer in 8 rings as some of the other people are. I thought he kind of came home a little bit slow at Santa Anita. And so I think Tiz the Law could benefit from some speed in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And I'm more of a believer when you got a horse ready to run, and if they're in good shape, sometimes it's kind of hard to turn them off and then try to come back as a 3-year-old. Although they did indicate they might look at the Nashua or the Remsen Stakes. They want to get that 3rd race as a juvenile in. So they aren't going to wrap them up for the year. They are going to give them one more run. So Tiz the Law, thinking more long-term. Nashua would be a good spot. I'm not a big believer in that Remsen Stakes at 9 furlongs as a 2-year-old. I think that ends up burning out more 2-year-olds than actually helping them out. So we'll see where Tiz the Law wants to go. I don't think Green Light Go is going to go to the Breeders' Cup. Gozilla, I don't know, they might. He did set some fast fractions, did duel a lot, improved off his last race, but yeah, he definitely has some distance limitations. Then we closed out the weekend with the Frizette Stakes on Sunday, and Wicked Whisper at 5 to 2, almost 3 to 1, as Frank's Rockette took most of the money early, but it was Wicked Whisper who came out of the gate, got established a good position, went to the lead, and then set all the fractions. She was never asked in this race. First crop of Liam's map. He's already got 2 Grade 1 winners. He was a talented racehorse, and now he's got 2 nice wins. I think of the winners this weekend, I think British Idiom is going to go on for the Juvenile fillies along with Bast. I'm a big believer in Donna Veloce, but Wicked Whisper, I think she'll be one of the top 2 or 3 favorites. And this was an impressive win. She was never really asked. They kind of just established position, stayed on the inside, and just cleared this field, and then just kind of ran around the track with 1.5, 2-length lead. Frank's Rockette made a run at her, but she was all in going into the turn, and it looked like she was gaining late, but she was being asked down the stretch, whereas Wicked Whisper was not being asked. So overall, an impressive race. Wicked Whisper, Bast, along with Donna Veloce, and we'll see what British Idiom, but those are your 4 main contenders for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies. On the boys' side, it's a little bit different story. I think 8 Rings is going to be the favorite, but I'm not as sold on him. We'll see who else kind of emerges from that West and wants to go. It looks like Shoplifted is still working out over the weekend at Santa Anita, so he's going to stay there and run in that race. Maybe the Express Train still, and then we'll see if Gozilla or maybe the runner-up besides Maxfield in that Keeneland Breeders' Futurity, but Maxfield definitely looks like they are going to point to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So those are all the main preps. They are in the books. We'll see if anybody wants to maybe try the dirt from Europe coming off the turf. But the fields will start to assimilate now this next couple of weeks, and we'll see how they shape up as we take a look who continues to work towards the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies. Don't forget, who do you like so far early on in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and Juvenile fillies? Leave a comment below, share the video, and subscribe, and also ring that bell for notifications as we race you up to the Breeders' Cup.